Studio. This is Sean from Grid 7, and this is part 2. I'm going to show you in this video, we're dealing with browser automation right now, specifically using a tool called Katalon Studio to automate this particular challenge. But the greater lesson here and why I'm showing you this is that you can use this tool to automate any repetitive kind of monkey work steps that you find yourself doing. We had a gentleman that had 5,000 records in a table for a Dalo. And right now there's not currently any easy way to delete these records. You have to literally go in one at a time and delete these, which is a pain in the butt. So I showed you in the last video just to prove that how this works, and you can see that if you just have this particular problem, you can download the file. You don't actually need to watch this and see how I did it. But in this video, I'm going to show you building this from scratch, so you have the lessons to be able then. This is a superpower, right? Like anything you find yourself doing over and over again, you now have the capability to record a script and automate it. So that's what we're going to do, and let's get started here. So Katalon Studio. So the quickest way, I have like a little syllabus here that I made up. I'm going to show you each one of these steps, and there are some kind of gotchas that I struggled with through trial and error. So I'm going to teach you that stuff. Basically, so you don't have to go through kind of the brain damage there of figuring that out. So first thing though, to get your head around what Katalon is. So this is, the easiest way is just to get the Chrome extension. So just Google Katalon Chrome. Yeah, this is it. So install this Chrome extension if you just want to test it real quick and get your hands dirty with it. Install it there. This is what it looks like. So I'm just going to record a quick sequence here. It's a little extension in your browser. You hit it, and let me just delete this. And let's record a new one. And so what it's doing right now in the background, it's recording everything I do. And I'll just do, that would be the sequence of deleting a record there. So then let's stop it. And you can see that in the background, it's recorded, here's going to that URL, clicking through the record, clicking the little trash can icon, and then clicking the modal dialog to stop it. So if we wanted to play this back, we would have to actually turn this into a wildcard. Because here, I'm going to show you why it's not going to work if we were to play that back now. Let's just close this. So we're going to start from the beginning. You can see here, it's going to go to that URL. We're already logged in, so we didn't need to do the login piece here, but it's going to actually try to do this stuff. And you can see it's going to falter on this one because that record no longer exists. These are all, if you inspect it here, you can see each one of these divs has an ID associated with it. And so it was explicitly, see how it's 53. And then if I go, the next one's 52. So it's looking for this 54, which is not there. And so basically the way around that, you can do a wildcard like that, and now it'll work. So let's play off. Let's see now. So basically then you have to do the same thing here. Anyways, we're not going to use the Chrome extension. Like the Chrome extension is great because you don't have to install anything. The downside of it is it doesn't have the capability to loop. You have to actually go into the desktop version of this thing because we have to do, we basically have to edit the code. And I know I realize the irony here. This is like typically a no-code blog, but we're going to actually deal with some code today. But this is just to show you kind of what it's doing. This is like their light version. It's in the Chrome browser. It's nice. It's great you can do some stuff and automate it this way. But for what we're going to do today, we actually need the desktop version of this tool. But I just want to show you, in case you just want to experiment with it before you download the desktop version, you can play with that. But we've got the desktop version installed. I'm going to load that up. And This is based on the Eclipse IDE, if you know that. And this is a completely free and open source tool, so you don't have to pay them a dime to use this. You can just Google Katalon Studio and download the latest version, and this is what we get. So I'm gonna close out of this. It's loading the last project, so I'm just actually gonna close out of this. We're gonna start a new one here, new project, and we'll call it test 3. Name. Okay. So the first thing we need to do, and I'm just going to step through this syllabus, so we're doing everything. So demo the Chrome extension. It doesn't have the loop, so we're going to use the desktop. So let's do this. So let's record the first sequence of stuff here. So we're going to go up here. We're going to hit record web, and this is the URL. Like, I'm going to save the steps of navigating from scratch. I'm actually just going to go direct to our collection in question here. So that's this URL, if I paste that in, right? So let's go directly there. So you see how it's firing up a new Chrome instance. And because this is a new, we're going to have to log in. So let me get the password. So I'm going to log in. And you can see it's recording all these actions. So we went to, this is, again, I went directly to the screen that has the data for my collection. So I'm just going to click on the first record and delete it. And here's the first gotcha, is that the desktop version, like, so the deficiency of the Chrome extension version is that it doesn't have the capability to loop. The deficiency of the desktop version is there's a bug and it doesn't have the capability to accept a modal dialog, but that's okay. I'm gonna show you how we solve it. But this is kind of the first like head scratcher that I bumped into in trying to solve this. But anyway, so that's our sequence. If we were to, like, that's a full run right there. We just deleted one record. So I'm gonna stop it. But before we close out of this, I'm gonna add one more step here and see how this accept alert. So you can choose all these things that you can do in the browser, but that's what we need to do is we accept alert. This one lets you do basically, here it says it right here, simulate users clicking on the OK button of like a modal dialog, which is what we need. So that's the full sequence of stuff we need. So we'll say OK. And you can see it creates this object repository, and this is basically all the pieces that we need. These are all the elements of the DOM that we're interacting with. So save that. I'll just call this test 3. Okay. So that is, yeah, so if we were to run this right now, this should work. Let's go test it. So it's running these exact same steps in Chrome right now. Okay, perfect. This is what I want to show you. So see how it's struggling on this screen right now. So it will figure it out eventually. What's happening is, remember how in the Chrome extension, it was looking for that ID and the ID didn't exist? Well, the desktop version of this actually has some logic where it's trying other things. Like, it failed on that first one, but rather than just failing outright, it's trying some other ideas to figure out what the right thing is, and it'll eventually get it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to then to optimize this so it doesn't. So see how it's in the background, it just figured it out. So now it'll complete it, right? So now, so that's good. So it worked, but that thing took 1 minute and 16 seconds to execute, which is not ideal. And you can see here, you can see here, this is the logic that it was looking for that one ID, it did not find it, but then it tried a bunch of other stuff and it was able to use this XPath to figure it out that this is what we need to do. So this is an optimization, and again, this is another one of the head scratchers that I had to go through to figure out that I'm just going to show you. If you ever hit this where it's like you have it working, but you need to optimize it, because if we were to loop this, think about how long would this take? It's over a minute, so you're looking at 5,000 minutes. You're looking at like 83 hours to run this script through 5,000 records, which is not ideal. But what we can do is we can go in and grab this, and this is where we're getting into some of the code here. But we can go in, and now we're going to look at, find this object and see how it's hard-coded the ID. We want to change that, and this is what worked. Right, so now if we save that and now rerun this guy, it should be much faster. So what we did was we just pruned out all those steps that it was trying to figure out what would work there. Okay, see how that was way quicker. That took 23 seconds total. So far so good. So 23 seconds is a big improvement. If we were to do that, then we could get 3 done per minute. So we're looking at 27 hours, which is better, but still not ideal. Now, what I'm going to show you, so we got to loop it, but what the interesting thing is, a bunch of that time was actually spent on this initial step, having to log in. We don't have to log in each time. We just have to, so in other words, we don't want to loop this whole thing. We just want to loop this chunk of it down here after the login. So that's what I'm going to show you next, is we're going to go, how to do the loop part of this. So to understand here what's happening, you have to realize that in the background, like this is the plain English version of what we're doing. These are all the steps. But in the background, it actually translates to this. This is Java code that's executing to emulate those browser requests. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a loop, Katalon loop script. There's not a visual way to record a loop, unfortunately. So you have to, this is the part where you have to mess with code. So this is what we need though. This is the script to do a loop, and then you just have to remember to close after it. So we just want to loop the portion after the login, and we have something like 30 records now, so we don't need it to run 200 times, we need it to run 30 times. And close that. Okay, so this should do what we need. It's now optimized, it'll run quickly, it doesn't have to figure out that XPath logic each time, and we're just looping this component of it. And you can see it actually does express, oops, there's an error in that. What did I do? Oh, we grabbed. Okay, so it validates it, and here it'll show you that there is the loop statement. So we're now looping these over these pieces of it. Okay, so yeah, so let me just show you that this works. So it'll only log in once. Okay, and I'm going to start timing on this next one. Boom. So it's 1 record, 2 records, 3 records, 4 records, 5 records. Okay, and I'm gonna stop it now. You don't need to see it, the whole thing. But 5 records took 12 seconds. So what is that? So if we can do 5 records in 12 seconds, then that means we basically do, well, yeah, 25 records, about 25 records per minute. Yeah, so way better. So we can do this now in a little over 3 hours. And that is a huge improvement. So you can see how whittling this down, we just keep gradually optimizing it, and finally that is a great result. The gentleman that I talked to in the Adalo forums, it took him 4 hours and he did literally just sat there doing mindless, pushing delete, like 3 clicks for every one of those to delete that. It took him 4 hours. So that makes sense. But yeah, you can see how that's just like, half your Saturday doing mindless work to delete all those records versus just playing that script. Like, what an improvement, right? So there is another optimization you could do. We're not going to do it, but we could. The one thing about this, it's hard-coded how many records you want it to do. So this type of loop is called a for loop, but you can change it to get this dynamically. So we're not hard-coding. But again, this is like one of these 80-20 things where I'm not going to go through the process, but you can turn that into a variable, have it look up the number of divs, and then set that number dynamically here, but not worth the time, right? So anyway, so that's the tutorial. This is how you use Katalon to automate browser-based monkey work. I hope you found that useful. If you did, and you found this somewhere other than my blog, you should head over to grid7.com because I'm doing a lot of this type of stuff. I'm showing some, basically these are superpowers. This is kind of how you get more done. And think about this, you can literally, what I just showed you, you can automate anything you can do in a browser that's repetitive work. Think about what time you can save yourself here with that tool. Okay, so sign up for my email list here if you want, or subscribe on the YouTube channel, and hope you found this useful. See you soon.